Good morning. My name is Enos Higgs. I am a UWA student working on my instructional leadership add-on, and I am a teacher here at Benjamin Russell High School. I'm sitting here with Mr. Shannon Benefield, principal of Benjamin Russell High School and my mentor. Mr. Benefield, would you briefly introduce yourself and your role here at Benjamin Russell?
Sure. I'm Shannon Benefield. I'm principal at Benjamin Russell High School. I've been in this role for 5 full school years. I'll be going into my 6th year. I've also been a principal at a 5th and 6th grade school, and then I was a middle school assistant principal for 3 years from 2017 to 2020.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So part of this internship progress, I've done activities with you here at the high school.
Yeah.
I've done activities at central office with Miss Simmons and Miss Brazel and Miss Gannett.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with Miss Brooks through interviews at Jim Pearson, Amanda Brewer. I've worked with Mr. Drakeford through the middle school, but mostly with his experiences at Stevens when he was assistant principal there. I've observed different levels of district leadership. I've observed interviews when we've hired teachers.
But you did participate in the conversations afterwards.
I did.
That makes a difference.
I did, and I do appreciate that. I sat down with Megan Ford, our instructional coach, and we looked over ACT data and planning activities and things like that. As department head, I've worked with our department over group chats over the summer about our new textbooks coming in and where we're going to go. And I've learned how leadership decisions impact students, staff, and the community. So from your perspective, how have I progressed throughout this internship this summer?
I think you've done a fantastic job actually over the internship goes back even further to the school year. You've been part of the building leadership team. You've also, with you being a department head, you're part of our instructional focus committee, so you've been in a lot of conversations behind closed doors and behind the scenes about what we do operations wise and what we do instructionally around here. I think the fact that you have gone out there, put yourself out there, and participated and engaged with all these other schools and all these other principals shows that you're not only focused on just the high school area, you're focused on things that are a little bit more big picture across the board.
Right, yeah, and that was the goal, is just to get every aspect of this. So have you noticed growth in my confidence and understanding of school leadership?
Absolutely, I think so. You've been a lot more vocal about things. You ask a lot more, and when I say vocal, I mean that in a good way, because you ask questions. A lot of people, whenever you're in leadership, they don't really understand the why. A lot of times when you make a decision or we do personnel action, but you've taken the time to stop and ask why, and you kind of understand. So you kind of see what kind of goes into the recipe of what happens. You're like Oz, you see what goes on, like I said, behind the curtain.
Right. I've talked about, other than just observing, I did participate in some leadership discussions. I've worked with Megan on looking at school data. We've worked on planning things when we had the calendar meeting. I did get to sit down with Ms. Richardson and yourself about conversations after the interview process, especially since a couple of the teachers will be working directly next to me in the school, so it's good to have a little input on that. As I've transitioned from observing to participating, what leadership qualities have you seen develop?
I like your demeanor. I'll say that because a lot of people, one of the things that I learned when I first became an assistant principal is I had a superintendent, Dr. Cooper. He told me you can't ride the roller coaster with him. And I noticed that you'll say what needs to be said, but you also observe things, which shows me that you have a calm demeanor about things. So you're thinking, and that will mean that you're strategic when you think. I would also say this too: when you ask questions about, like what you said in the follow-up with the personnel stuff, you were asking questions of like, why do we do this? What do you see? And what do you see? You're a teacher, and you told us, and the fact that you're thinking outside of the box really shows that you're on your way to being there.
Thank you. So some things I've learned during this whole process, I've learned that it's more than just discipline. I've learned it's about all sorts of crazy decisions, like what you and Mr. Whaley do that I've seen day to day is it's the fine print. You know what I mean? It's not what you say. It's more discipline. It's getting to sit down with the EOP. A little tedious at times, but it's crazy how much thought and detail you guys have to go into about stuff that may not even happen, down the road type stuff. Relationships, it's all about building relationships. I see you walk around the school, you chit chat with everybody when you give a chance. You stay, and I don't mean micromanaging, but you keep your thumb on the button as far as what's going on in the school.
Right. I try to.
And like I said, and again, not in a negative way. I don't never feel micromanaged. It's good to know that when I come with you, you have a scope of what's going on.
Right.
Because you're in the know. So those are things I've learned. It's much more than just discipline and walking around and carrying the big stick. It's a lot of tedious work.
It is. I will say this: there's parts of it that you haven't seen yet that I'm glad that your internship is ending for your sake. But what I would really challenge, and I think you're going to get probably a little bit more exposure this year, is the ASIP process, like what the school improvement plan looks like, the things that go into that. A lot of things that I don't talk about with a lot of the staff is the finance side of it.
Right.
And like the funding side and what to do with money. And that's a huge, huge, huge thing that even Mr. Whaler, our assistant principal, he's got to learn to grasp it, because he'll be a principal one day here pretty soon, and he has to figure that part out as well.
Right.
Or the scheduling side of it.
I feel like we've already covered that one. So let's talk about some areas I'd like to improve, and you've just led way into it.
Yes.
I do want to learn more about the budgeting side of it, and school finances. I have sat down with Miss Mayton, and we've kind of talked stuff, because I'm over NHS and Interact, and we have to deal POs and stuff like that with her, and so it's interesting to me. So I do want to learn that. I do get to see a little bit on the human resources side when I sat in with the interviews and the discussions. I'd like obviously more to do with that. I've touched on scheduling a little bit, and long-term school improvement plans.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I'm in this for the long haul, obviously. And so I'd like to know that whether I'm still in Elliott City school systems, which I hope to be till I retire,
Right.
or if I ever have to go to another school system, I have a good understanding for long-term planning.
Right.
And, we've touched on conversations about our futures and stuff and everything. And, I like to think we're trying to put the pieces in place now to not just better ourselves, but better Benjamin Russell, Elliott City Schools.
Right.
So as I continue preparing to be an administrator, what other advice would you give me?
I would say just it's all about stepping up, and well, I'll say this: the bad thing is about when you do a really good job, and I've heard this several times. When you do a really good job and you do a lot of it, then you tend to get more put on your plate. That could be a blessing or a curse. I would say this: the stuff that we talked about with the school improvement plan, the scheduling side of it, and the finance is a huge thing, because a lot of people don't realize this, but anytime that you're a principal, you're running what I would call $1 million business. Right. And those are three things that are huge that they don't teach you a lot about in grad school. You take the class on it, but you don't know until you do it.
Until you're in the thick of it, yeah.
Correct. The school improvement side of it's the strategic planning, and then trying to develop the resources and the programs and put the right people in the right spots and put them in the right seats on the bus in order for you to be able to effectively achieve the goals that you set.
Okay, cool. Are there any areas you would encourage me to continue developing?
I would say just that, and then I would just keep doing what you're doing. You've already shown that you want to be a leader, and that makes a huge thing, because in today's environment we need more teachers getting ready to step out of classrooms to be administrators, because you're going to see a group or a wave, just like we saw a few years ago, a wave of teachers leaving. You're going to start seeing today's teacher shortage is going to be tomorrow's administrator shortage. So just make sure that I would just keep continuing putting yourself out there.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for investing this time in me this summer, and through the last 6-7 years we've been working together.
Yeah.
I appreciate you allowing me to participate in so many leadership experiences, and it's really been a value to me. Final question. Is there anything else you'd like to add about my progress or anything you'd like for me to focus on moving forward?
No, I think that's it. And then I will say this, when you come out to be an administrator, you'll go to be an assistant principal first. There are things that you're going to have to learn. Number one is it's a job, and it's a lot of hours, and it's going to wear on you, and it's going to be stressful at times, but it's worth it. It's more fulfilling because you get to impact at a different level. I would also say this is that you're gonna move into one of two avenues. You'll either go. Everyone talks about the 3 B's: the butts, the books, and the buses. But I'll also say this: that don't forget about the instruction side of it, because at the end of the day, we're all instructional leaders.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.